Okay.
Everybody, welcome to Project Perspectives. I am Carol. Say hi, Sarah.
Hi.
We're just going to do a
How
quick
are you?
video today, though, and we're going to talk about meditation. Do you love it or do you hate it? And the reason that Sarah and I were talking about this is because recently I had someone reach out to me, and this has happened a lot. And I don't know about you. People are like, well, how do I meditate? I have a really hard problem meditating. And, what kind of meditation should I do? Do you get that question a lot? I know I do.
Oh my gosh, all the time. And I struggle with it myself
Me
because
too. Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of I like to meditate for sure, but then when it comes down to it, I'm not disciplined. So,
So the real question is do you love it or do you hate it? I think most people honestly really don't care for it. Don't you agree?
definitely. I would say it's a lot of people think that you have to think of nothing, which is what makes it difficult, at least for
Right.
me. When you say just think of nothing, I was like, it's not going to happen. So but I think for me, I really, because I am kind of a visual person, I like to visualize, like the beach or being on the top of a mountain and just looking out onto the range or something like that. By focusing on the details helps me to not think of nothing or to think of nothing,
You
at
think of
least.
nothing.
So I'm not thinking
So for
about,
you, you're busy in a visualization, but well, okay, and
right.
that's a really good tip, and I think that that's true, and it certainly can be relaxing. So there's a lot of physical benefits from meditation, which I think is a fantastic thing because people say I feel calmer, I feel more relaxed, and if nothing else, it's got a positive benefit for that very reason. It can relax the body. But I think when you find, at least for me, when people are reaching out in regards to meditation, what they're really saying is I want to meditate because I want to become more psychic, or I want to become more in tune, or I want to connect. So when people are wanting to do the meditation for the connection, I think they tend to think, well, I need to be looking for something, or I need to be watching for a signal, or like you said, there just needs to be this really emptiness and I'm not thinking of nothing. And I think in all reality, that can actually backfire on you because you are waiting to receive something as opposed to doing nothing. So that kind of becomes the catch 22 in meditation.
I think it depends on your intention going into the meditation. So you can meditate on literally anything. Let's say you have a question. Let's just meditate on this question so that I can come up with an answer for that
That's a
question.
great suggestion. That's a great suggestion. Yeah.
Or sometimes people are like, oh, I want to do like past life regression. So maybe they go into the meditation and they're asking for this specific answer to this specific question about what was a significant past life for them, and what kind of information can they get from that. So it depends on what your goal is. So if it's like psychic development, connecting with your guides, just kind of being able to use that psychic muscle for the 10 minutes of meditation, that's expanding the time that you can focus on receiving, right? And that's kind of what
Absolutely. That's so
you're
well
trying to
said.
do.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. No,
And
that's a really good point that you bring up because I think that people get confused with meditation where again, like, it's like, okay, I'm supposed to be empty. And I think what you're really trying to do is you really need to be paying attention to what you're receiving. So you are paying attention to something. So that's why I like that you gave an example of visualization or also asking a question. Those are two really good tips. The point is you're making time to set aside and to be aware of what's going on. You're not in your monkey brain, right? And so
right.
you're not worried about what am I making for dinner? What's on the grocery list? What about the problem that I had at work today? What are my kids doing? You're really setting aside a period of time to be aware, to give mindfulness to what is coming through. And I think, when people think of classical meditation, we think of and emptiness and not doing anything. And I do think that thoughts come into our mind and we should pay attention to those because maybe they're significant. But at the same time, I'm like you. I think it's a lot better if you can have some type of a goal or a target in mind. I also like to make the suggestion of, just allowing a stream of consciousness to take place. Because if your brain is on process mode, right, if it's got 1,000 thoughts, then just run through them. Just let them run through, get
Right.
through them, and then go, okay, Now I just want to see what comes up for me. I've had a rough day today. So sit back and have your rough day and go, how did I feel about it? And just allow the thoughts to unfold and unfold and unfold. And in many ways, you'll find that that's still a very meditative process because you're allowing things to come up. And you might find that there's emotions that bubble to the surface that you weren't even aware of, but
Right.
those are still healing. Isn't that the point of kind of meditation, is to have an awareness, not necessarily the psychic hit, even though it might be? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, you're hitting on some emotional stuff,
Right.
where you're kind of, like you said, processing the day, taking the time to emotionally process some of that stuff. And then it feels lighter at the end of it because you've processed it instead of just being like, meh, I don't want to deal with that right now or ever, maybe. So, and then it gets shoved away in the box. We don't speak of it
Right.
again, flick it in the ocean.
Yeah.
But instead, what meditation does is it, and especially if you are trying to heal or doing any kind of like shadow work, healing work, ask, yourself, where do I need to focus to heal that wound? And then what emotions come up for me
That's a really good point
during that
too.
time?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm
Right.
so glad. Yeah, no, that's excellent. I'm glad you brought that up because you're right. I mean, asking is huge, right? Because we don't think to ask. We just,
Right.
we think, oh, let's just whatever come through, but give yourself a target. And I think that can be part of meditation as well, is like you said, have a question, but it's like, okay, why was I angry today? What's the solution to this anger? How can I get past that? How can I resolve that? And instead of stewing and thinking about it, I think that's the hard part in meditation that people think is it's about just allowing whatever comes to mind. It might be a song lyric. You might catch yourself singing a song or drawn to a movie. It's about, I call it free flow. You're allowing
Yes.
free flow to
Exactly.
take place. So it's not that you can't do a visualization, but when you're doing a visualization, I mean, are you really getting anything out of that? I don't do visualization because I'm not really visual. So if you'll go to a favorite place, for example, does something happen? Are you asking a question? Are people showing up? Or are you just using that as a relaxation technique?
Oh, that's a great question. And I think the answer is all of the above.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay.
so for me, and I'm just going to use the beach because it's my favorite. So
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Me too.
yeah, yeah. Oh God, me and Carol, we're going to be at the beach
And
together in the
someday,
afterlife.
come find us at the beach.
Right. So for me, that's the first step in getting my thoughts out of my head is to start to visualize the beach. And I will notice that the beach will often reflect my mood. So it's like if I'm really pissed off or I'm really upset, having a bad day, it could be a stormy day at the beach, but whatever it is, it's helping me not think about words because now I'm focusing on the visualizing. And so then,
That's a great tip. That's
right? So then it's like now I can kind of immerse myself into this atmosphere of the beach. And I say that immersing into the five senses. So what does the wind sound like going past your ears? What does the waves sound like? What does it smell like? What does the sand feel like? All of these things to help you immerse into that releases any thoughts about what I've done last week. Did I have to cook dinner in 2 minutes? Any of that stuff. And so then that does allow the information to come in. Now, a couple things can happen. Either I've asked a question of, how can I shake this bad mood? And
Mhm.
maybe I need some advice or something like that. I might hear it audibly. Um,
Does your
well, I mean,
visual change? Like, does the visual change to give you your answer? Or where does your answer come from? Or do you stay immersed in your scene and then just observe anything else that happens to you? How does that answer emerge for you? What does that look like?
a couple ways. So sometimes I will have a guide that is there. So
Mm-hmm.
it feels like I'm talking to someone or,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like I'm having a venting session with a buddy. Um,
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
And so in that way, it's like I have been able to get the advice that I need, maybe the comforting or the good job, way to
Mm-hmm.
go, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'll just hear it though. So I'll be looking at the beach and I'll ask the question. I'll just hear it. I don't necessarily, it doesn't have to be
A
somebody, but
conversation.
that's because I'm also clairaudient. So I'm going to
Right.
hear stuff.
Right.
So that might not be for everyone, but
Well, but
it
they're
can,
good. They're good things because people, I think, when they get to meditating, they go, "Well, what's supposed to happen now?"
right,
And I think the point is you can allow your creativity to take place, because creativity and psi are very related. Highly creative people do much better at psychic testing in the laboratory than non-creative people do. So we really don't know the correlation between creativity and psi at this point. We just know that it's very testable and provable that more creative people perform better. And a lot of that is because they're capable of moving on the fly. They're capable of moving with the flow. They're capable of having this imagination. And I liked what you brought up about kind of conversing with a buddy, because that was really, for me, I'm not visual the way you are. I'm very clairaudient, or just kind of a sense of knowing, that claircognizance. And I
right.
just started talking to myself. I was doing it through writing. So I've recommended for people, if you're not good at meditating, if you love to write, then write. And I have the same conversation that you have visually, but I do it in writing. I will literally put
That's
a
really good.
question on the page, and then
Yeah.
I will just start writing.
Do you know, I used to journal more like that.
Hmm.
I don't do that as much anymore. I don't know why. Maybe I
Well,
need to.
got kids, and it takes a lot of, and it can be hard to find space. And I think that's something too. It's like, how do you
Yeah.
find space when you have kids and you're working and all that other kind of stuff? But that's another
Kids, cats,
question
and
for
dogs.
another day.
Yeah.
But I think it's really about the free flow of information. So my form of meditation is honestly journaling. And I will find that if I ask a question, I have a lot of emotions that I need to get out about it. So I will process my own emotions. But then I will
Yeah.
wait, and just like you, I'm like, what's my buddy going to tell me? What's their advice? And I will just start writing. And then pretty soon it's
Yes.
almost like, wow, somebody else is kind of, I don't want to say someone, but something comes through. There's this awareness that comes
Hmm.
through and just kind of gives you these insights, and you can start writing about them. So
Yeah.
in many ways, you can have a meditation session, whether it's a visualization or journaling. You're in space, you're letting things flow. Does that make sense? It's just a different way of doing it.
Yeah. It's actually pretty funny. I used to read back some of my old journal entries that were like that, where I would write out a question, maybe, why am I so angry right now? And then all this information that comes afterwards, and when you reread it, you're like, wow, I'm really smart and wise.
That's right. It's really insightful, but and I think it's the free flow. It's the free flow that lets it happen, which is, again, one of the reasons why we notice that musicians and artists can consider themselves very intuitive. It's like things just come to them because they're, instead of thinking and looking for it, they're just allowing this flow of information to take place. And
Yeah.
that's another suggestion that I make to people too, if they say they can't meditate, because people are like, oh, I fall asleep or I just can't do it. Do something that feels meditative to you. It might be painting or drawing, because we all get in that zone, right? Some people get in a zone when they're running. I mean, there's athletes that have intuitive insights in the middle of doing whatever their sport is. There's books
Yeah.
written on that. So it's
Hmm.
really about what gets you in the zone. Um,
Yeah.
and that's why I think meditation has kind of gotten a little bit of a bad rap. And I don't want to diss it, and go, it stinks, because there's people that are meditation specialists. But I do believe that it's a really tough thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think
Well,
that
for
they,
me, I think it's
yeah,
discipline. It's a discipline of
you're so
doing
right.
it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
doing it every day. I don't meditate every single day. I don't. I know I should. Um, there was a
We all
period of
know we
time,
should.
right? There was a period of time that I was really good about meditating at least the bare minimum 15 minutes before bedtime. And that actually helped me clear my brain and all that before bed. I felt like I slept better. And then even sometimes in the morning, I would meditate for like another 10 minutes. So like, let's say your alarm clock goes off, you just lay in bed for that 10 minutes, you know,
Right.
you have to get up, but you just, and your brain waves at that point should be at that level where it should
Right.
be real easy for you
Right.
to slip into some kind of visualized meditation.
Right.
That
To
you're,
just relax and let things come through. That's, you know what, that's an exact technique that I use as well. 15 minutes in the morning, right when I'm coming out of waking, before I'm fully alert and telling myself what I need to do for the day. During that time in the morning, I will straight up just lay there and see what comes through for me. And my whole intention is to just let whatever needs to come into my mind come into my mind. And I will often get little things that end up happening through the day, kind of like these little precognitive moments. Again, I'll hear a song or words or something will come into my mind, and I just pay attention to it. So we often wake up in the morning and we feel like, oh, got to get up, got to get ready, got to do this, got to do this, do this. And I think you're right. That's a good kind of a cheater way to get 10 minutes in the morning to just be in space and allow that to happen. So I agree with you with what you were saying in regards to kind of you feel better. And I know that when I took time to journal, even if it was 15 minutes in the morning or whatever after breakfast, if I just kind of let whatever it was that my emotions were for the day, I felt so much better. I was so much more balanced for the rest of my day because I had given myself this chance to process information. So I think meditation, because I'm like a lot of people, it's like you say meditation, I'm like, ugh. But make it something that's beneficial for you. It can still be a meditative process. It can still be beneficial. You're giving yourself a break. You're giving your body a break. You're giving your mind a break. You're thinking about what's going on with you inwardly. You're allowing yourself to process, and then you're allowing a free flow of information to come in as well. So I think the point of what we wanted to do is just a little short video and just kind of say to people, we understand how you're feeling about loving it and hating it. I think you bring up a really good point. It's a discipline issue, but we get caught in that trap of feeling like it has to be a certain way. And I think it's really about finding the methods that work for you, because we're all individuals, you know?
Yeah. So one other thing I would suggest too is to note that what I call mindful meditation, I don't know, that's not my term, but I think that's a thing where the mindful meditations are, for example, like when we're in the car and you kind of like, I don't know, it's like a weird zoning out.
Oh my gosh. If I'm driving and zoning, it's like all kinds of stuff comes in.
It's like I'm totally focused on the road. Like my peripherals are on par, but it's like my brain like I'm somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
And
which
all
is
this
not
information.
Good advice, not good advice.
No. Right? It's like, please don't get into a meditative state while driving on purpose. That's not the point here, but it's like, it's just like being in this zone. And so I call that mindful meditation. And it happens when I'm doing dishes, you know, I'll just be kind of like doing dishes and I'm, you know, in this mode.
Yes. Very true.
Where you're just kind of like open and receiving information.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to look like I have to and sit here for 10 minutes and not move. And I have to, you know, it doesn't have to look like any particular thing. So I think that is a good point to bring up about it, because nobody likes meditation really.
And, you know, we do know, you know, again, scientifically, they can prove the benefits of people who meditate. You know, you can see the brainwave patterns. People's ability to focus is so much more improved. So there are true physiological benefits to meditation. The thought process of meditators is very different. So I'm not belittling it and saying that it doesn't have an advantage, but I think that we've packaged meditation into it needs to be in this particular type of format. And ultimately, it's what's good for you. Walking on the beach, intentionally being with the waves. I mean, literally, not your visual, right? You know,
Right,
or going
right,
for a walk in the woods, or just getting away and giving yourself a break from the thought processes, and then allowing things to come through for you. So I think it's just kind of, what's your goal with the meditation? What are you
right.
really looking for? And I
Hmm.
think most people, again, that are here going, well, I want to meditate because I want to get more connected, right? And
Right,
so, again, take a look at other ways that you can get connected and not put yourself in that particular box. And recognize that meditation is difficult for a lot of people. So, try a lot of different things. Some
right.
people like guided meditations. I particularly don't. Now, but I've been with other people who do.
Yeah.
How do you feel about those?
Okay, so the whole reason why meditation is this pinnacle of psychic development is because it is using the psychic muscle, right? So literally, the longer you can hold in meditation, the better you'll be at any kind of reading or
Because
psychic
it's a focus
information.
tool. You're learning to control the jibber jabber. That's the only reason. And I think people kind of get
Exactly.
confused. You're controlling the jibber jabber, but there's lots of
Right.
ways to control the jibber jabber. So, yeah.
Right. So I think that's why when it comes to psychic development, we say, or at least that's partly why, because you're using the psychic muscle and you're expanding your endurance and being able to hold
That's a
that
really good way to put
that
it. Yeah.
space. So then the other thing is, what is your goal? So if your goal is psychic development, then that also your meditations need to be, I think, based on that a little bit, where what is it that you're trying to develop? Are you trying to learn how to heal? Are you trying to learn how to talk to dead people? Are you trying to just get in to this information receiving mode,
Right.
Akashic records, past
Right.
life, whatever? um
And that's why you
so
said ask a question or have a goal for the meditation, and then just
yeah,
let something come through, as opposed to sitting there and going, gee, what's supposed to happen now? Well,
right,
nothing's going to happen if you don't have an intention for it.
exactly.
So it kind of, you're
So,
right. It has to be that twofold aspect. Very good points.
right. One of my favorite meditations I want to bring up real quick is one that we actually did a long time ago in our little meditation circle, um, where we used the air, like visualizing air for thoughts, for
The elements.
sweeping,
Hmm.
yeah, for using the clearing your thoughts using air. And then it was the visualization of a fire for passion, and then the visualization of water for the emotional healing, and then the same for earth for the physical healing, right? So you go through all those elements, and it should only take what, 10-15 minutes. It was a really short, I don't know, whatever, for whatever reason, that particular
I
meditation,
remember when we did that.
it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
really
that was
good. It
really
was really
good. Well,
good.
someone else in our group guided us through it, so it wasn't something
Yeah.
that Sarah I did. We were participants, and one of our friends had come to the circle, and she guided us through this, and we were all done. We're like, wow, that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think you do have to find something that works for you, and that's a great suggestion as well.
Hmm.
Just imagine fire, whatever it does for you. What are your emotions? What does it bring up?
Right.
So I think meditation can be very interactive. You are absolutely right. Yeah. So having the goal, finding what works for you. And then I asked you about the guided, so I mean, do you
Oh, right.
like guided or not guided?
In the beginning, I think it was helpful to me to have
Did it stretch
someone.
that muscle that you were talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think listening to the guide
Mhm.
helped me visualize what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know, for whatever reason, it clicked. And then I was able to ditch the guided anything after that and do it on my own.
Mhm.
Another thing that I noticed was in guided meditations, I was starting to get ahead of the meditator. So I would like start to do before what they were saying. And I'm like, and then they would say it, and I'm like, I'm already there,
Right,
So it's
right.
like,
And that can be a drawback to the guided one. Some people like it, especially if you are very scattered and you're not really sure where you want to start. Maybe guided meditation will work for a while to
right.
get you to a point where you can relax and just kind of be in space with the guide. So
Or,
nothing
and then
wrong with
how
that.
it feels.
So I think you're right in the sense that it's good to be able to use the guided meditations for people that are starting out. But like
Hmm.
you, I kind of got to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, they're slowing me down because I had my own process. So once you're to the point where it's like, the guide is not helping me, it's making it harder for me to focus, then I ditched it, and then I'm like, I'm just going to find my own methodology and do what works for me.
Right.
So I know we've kind of talked about a lot of different things as far as meditation was concerned. I just think I wanted us to be honest and go, yeah, um, it's not the funnest thing in the world to do, which is why find a way that does make it fun for you, because you're not going to be disciplined about it if it's boring or you're falling asleep.
Yeah.
So find a way
Yeah.
to journal or to do art or to listen to some music, or that's why people walk labyrinths. It gives you something to do, but allows you to empty yourself. So it's really about experimenting. Not to say
Yeah.
that meditation can't be beneficial on many, many levels. Even if you're just sitting and listening to some relaxing music for 10 or 15 minutes, that's probably going to give you more physiological and mental benefits than it will perhaps the psychic benefits that people are looking for. So yeah. So
Well, it
anyway,
raises
that's
your
that's
vibration,
thoughts. Do you love it? Do you hate it?
right?
So what? Any closing thoughts for you? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say because it raises your vibration, and inevitably that's healing all the way around.
Well, when you say it raises your vibration, so I mean, in what aspect? What do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. It's like at least for 10 minutes you spent just kind of processing whatever issues it was that you had, and then now you feel lighter. So it's like a release of stress, or anyways, it's like a release of this layer of residual, right? And
So it
so
frees you up is basically what it does. So that's how it, so
so it
that's
can have
it raises your
that
vibration.
every time. It's like every time you do a meditation, you're going through some kind of releasing of a layer of an onion, we'll just say, right?
Sure.
And that, if you can get rid of stress, because stress is what, the number one killer of everyone in America,
Absolutely. Something
everyone in the
simple.
world.
That's right. Yeah.
If you can release a layer of that in 10 minutes, your day is going to feel better. I just think, well, like when you're saying so many benefits from meditation, it's not just psychic development. It's not just,
Which
you
is true
can
even for
meditate
diet and
on your
nutrition.
own
I mean,
health.
let's face it, we all know that we
Yeah.
should be doing better when it comes to eating or to exercising. I mean, we know these things intellectually. And I think you brought up a really excellent point at the beginning. It's about the discipline. It's about finding the time to do it, and does it really have value for you? And we sometimes don't see the value in the beginning, or we find it difficult. We find it to be a struggle. And I think that that's the point, is that you just have to find that something that works for you, and slowly move into that. So
Yeah.
anyway, I think we both were honest with our feelings, love it or hate it. It's like I do love it when I make the time to do it, but I also hate it because I feel like it needs to look like a certain way, or I have to take time for it. But I do find that when I take the time to do it through journaling or through meditating, or even laying in bed in the morning and giving myself 10 minutes to just receive whatever it is that I need to receive for the day, that those little things make my day run smoother and run better. So it's about finding that 5 or 10 minutes that it takes here or there, or more if you can work it into your schedule.
Right.
Do that.
I
Yeah.
really like the journaling thing, to be honest, because then it gives you this way to look back also on maybe the information that was given, or
That's why I'm such a fan of it. Yeah, because if I ask a question or I want some type of insight, and I can go back and look at it, and if something is really beneficial when I get done with it, I'll actually put it in italics and I'll highlight it. So if I want to
Mhm.
go back and look at it later, it's like, oh, this part is highlighted. This is really important for me. So most definitely,
Right.
I think the written part is really good. If you don't like writing, because some people are like, I don't like to write. Another suggestion would be is to get a tape recorder or use your phone, something like that, and just start talking. Basically talk to yourself. And I know
Right.
that sounds really silly, but you actually can. And
Hmm.
again, there's another benefit to that as well, which is very therapeutic. If you're angry, free flow of information, be angry, get the emotions out. When we
Yeah.
suppress our emotions, when we tamp those down, we're not honoring ourselves. And that's a different topic in another discussion. but all you're doing is shoving it in. And I run into so
Yeah.
many people in doing sessions that their emotions have just been shoved and shoved and shoved to the point that they can't get anything else through in their life because they're so busy stuffing it. So let it come out. If you're angry, just talk about it, but then shift it to a solution. Always shift to a solution. Okay, I'm really angry about this. Am I right? Am I wrong? What is it that I need to own? How can I resolve this? And then just start talking. What are the answers? If you start singing a song, then just sing it. Don't censor what you're getting. Key and psychic information. Don't censor. Just let it flow. So maybe some of these suggestions will be helpful for you today, and you can find the option that works for you. So until next time, thanks for joining us, and please subscribe down below, and our contact information is down below. So bye.
Bye.